Good morning, everybody. Today I'd like to bring up the topic of narcissism, amnesia, and the 7 deadly sins and the 7 virtues. As I was learning for many years through psychology independently about narcissism, as when I first detected narcissism, it wasn't a highly spoken of topic, and something that I'd actually not experienced in education or psychology or been spoken to or about any time in my life. It was a morbidly fascinating field of understanding these types, and also the people that they attract, the people that they require to parasitize. The 7 deadly sins. Essentially, the narcissists work from a broken mirror, in which they have no real personality of their own. So they will try to leech your virtues, your good qualities, and mimic them while projecting their bad qualities onto you. So basically it's a total psychic role reversal, incrementally, by suggestion, while at the same time these people are creating a new facade, social facade, out of your virtues in adoption, because they don't actually feel per se. They act in order for other people to show feeling, which gives them acknowledgement of their existence. So be it good or bad, any incursion of flow by their narrative, by their story, will be a dopamine hit for them. The broken mirror. This will cause a lot of intuitive problems for the target. Self-doubt will become pretty supreme, as the fake love that they're feeling, which is actually just their own love reflected back, is corrupting the inputs and the filters around a slow erosion of boundaries and self-esteem by supposition, by character assassination, and also by infecting the environment slowly with opposition, with stories of opposition. And also what they will do is they'll set up a social situation where they will give everybody a prelude to what they're going to create in you, and then upon creating that in you, they will then produce the evidence of reactive abuse, which is a self-defense mechanism. It's perfectly natural, but once again amplified by the broken mirror as a taunt, from a taunt, as proof of that person being exactly what they've created the narrative around. And that's a little bit disconcerting. Beautiful birds. Eventually what will happen in the target is they will take on the gaslighting job of the narcissist and start to gaslight themselves. Perfect example of this in my existence is having now understood that I've never received love or anything like it. To experience this foreign body being love is more foreign to me than the abuse that I've received. Even though my logic is completely sound and aware of the sensations that I'm going through, because the word and the experience were completely different, and the repetition of that experience slowly eroded my understanding of love as a feeling, and created love as a concept of narrative of someone else's fiction, basically. Love was a very conditional and transactional situation. So what I'm learning now is that for me to have received love, I had to betray myself, and now for me to receive love, I have to betray my protection to accept love. This is the self-gaslighting aspect, and also another part of the 7 deadly sins of chastity from love, basically, because the notion is so infected. One is less inclined to trust, and this is exactly the narcissist's ploy, is to leave you isolated and destitute, basically. That's their ultimate goal, is destruction of the human. And we come into the old notion of soul murder, which is extremely pathological. It took me a long time to understand this stuff because I'd been in it so long that I was basically inoculated by the virus. Much reading of this and much shock and much dissonance around interpreting, receiving and absorbing this information, as it was clinically extremely accurate on a generic level, and pertaining to my situation also very strongly. So essentially what I'm getting from all of this, from this dark mirror stuff, is that it's a want to isolate people who have the propensity to see through the game, and to crush them out of their experience of love and connectedness, which in turn also keeps the secret safe. So it's essentially a throwaway psychological society of the narcissist, whereby they'll take the best, enjoy basically writing a human being off, and then moving on to the next with the energy of that person, with the personality of that person in the positive, with their skills honed a little more as to how to cause amnesia, because all narcissism and narcissistic abuse is a form of amnesia, mild, medium, or fully cooked. It's amnesia, because for anyone to go into a situation where logic and emotion is affected in an instant, that's dissonance, and dissonance is just a cousin of dissociation, and dissociation is one of the defenses leading to amnesia. So yeah, and what I've noticed with these people, especially these multi-generational incestuous pedophiles, is that it's a repeat performance of children who toe the line, becoming extremely narcissistic and carrying on the mantle of the family, and the other ones will usually start suffering mental illness quite early, but it'll be subsumed because it's a result of the child's personality, not the environment, according to the narcissist, which would imply the need for discipline and also negate any outer judgment around said discipline, because this is how you educate a child. And the more this is seen from the outside as a disciplinary situation, and from the inside as a restrictive form of personality torture, the child will also self-gaslight to ameliorate the pain of the reality that they're actually experiencing, through dissonance and dissociation, through eventually amnesia. as they are subjugated to a situation that they can't ameliorate, and one that's very difficult to prove, and one that will receive strong repercussions for any form of leakage. And this would also include psychologists and therapists and that sort of stuff. I found when I was younger, I knew from a very young age that I was therapy resistant, because that's how I'd been trained, because I'd been trained not to ask for help. So I know what it's like, and I know that there's another layer. There's this is where the intuition works in reverse, in that as someone's trying to break in, as the narcissist has so many times before, the security system will pull it up, and will pull it up very efficiently and without too much detection. So the self-gaslighting is also around people getting close to the wound, where the subconscious sense is that they don't have the capacity to be able to hold this situation in its opening. And that's another point of isolation. So essentially, coming back to the 7 deadly sins, the target will wear everything that the narcissist has basically perpetrated, and they'll be the ones seeking help while not being able to really expunge what's happened, because they're still in dissonance on the inside. There's a protective layer working, and that's potentially years in therapy and a lot of frustration at 1 hour a week of trying to sort out what has essentially stolen one's life force and direction, intuition, creativity, imagination, and presence. Because the results of this stuff is that the person, the target, becomes non-present. They become subsumed in internal question, while the question still carries on in the environment. And there is no surrender at that point. The body's going fast. There's a sense of urgency about everything. And none of this happens without prior history. Anyone who's suffered narcissistic abuse has suffered a loss of presence at some point with narcissists, with people who their soul understood how to want to cause harm. This is when the soul leaves the body. So the prevalence of narcissism in society now, and also the victims of narcissism, which are also more often than not unspoken, as are the narcissists undetected. By degree, we're seeing a lot more of it, and in people's confusion, we're seeing the division and the survival mode of pattern working through people who are wanting connection to heal this sort of thing, but have no concept of what real connection is. Until that dissonance is dealt with, it's a pattern. And we keep getting the lesson that we need, but I believe that this is once again a community-based issue where isolation is the primary precursor to people's becoming remote. It's a very shameful experience to know that you've invited someone into your life and they've actively tried to destroy you. And you carry a lot of their shame too, because part of the broken mirror, it's a bit like a face-off situation. If you ever saw that movie, it's they're basically defacing you and wearing your face around like a clown would, pretending to be you, using all the nuance, but at the same time it's just a big cosmic joke. And it's where they get their sustenance, in the morbid and in the deranged. And as I've said before, from psychology to spirituality, because I just bypass religion without withstanding it. This is a spiritual issue. Anyone who has no remorse is essentially a desouled being. What else? Yes, so this continuance of the child sacrifice generationally, as I have witnessed my children lose consciousness and grow different attitudes to the ones I knew them as in their nature. And I don't blame them for any of that, though it has been extremely painful to alchemise, once again, a situation that was untenable, but also extremely hard to digest emotionally, to accept. And this is a big problem with this whole situation too, is acceptance. There's a little part of a child in all of us that doesn't want to believe that this sort of evil exists, and that is dissonance. And I think sometimes the more people believe that fervently, the more negative experience they've had, because it becomes a fantasy, a flight away, a dissonance, a dissociation from what was and what could be again. So this continuance of the sacrificed children who are labelled eventually, when they start to show signs of waking up, of remembering. It's not waking up, it's remembering. And so more pressure will be applied to the broken self, and these children will be inclined to enact behaviours, drugs and alcohol and all this sort of stuff, which will be, as I said, attributed to their personality rather than their upbringing, which is very convenient, because of course they were given a perfect upbringing, and narcissists, you will notice, they never do anything wrong. Not to anyone else's ear, they don't. They're very, very virtuous, and this is one of these flips, these broken mirror flips, that they throw such a heavy polarity that no one would believe that their darkness is probably less borrowed than their light. So and at the same time, what they'll do is they'll slowly ostracise them from anyone in society who might be viable as a confidant. Any friends that seem like they might be solid will be slowly edged out, chipped away at, just surreptitiously. It's all just seeding. And once that damage is in the mind, especially when one has become prey, a victim to these people, one will lean towards listening, because one already has a subliminal understanding of what happens when one doesn't listen to the discipline, which is just programming. It's just training. So as I watched myself as a young fella lost, pretending I wasn't lost, because there was no one to talk to about it, because you just got to get on with life. This is what children will do, and anything that comes close to them which would portray anything near the truth will be violently rejected with accusation, character assassination, as the smear has already been completed within the home, internally. And all of these little wins build the escrow of the narcissist and incapacitate the target at the same rate. Yeah. After I'd lost contact with my children, I did get a phone call at one point that my son had been in hospital with a migraine that had paralysed all the left-hand side of his body, which would indicate to me feminine. I wasn't allowed to go into that hospital. I drove 350 kilometres to go and see him instantly. Of course, I wasn't allowed to see him. But that denotes to me that that's a body attack from the psychology of his inner paralysis becoming physical at that point. Of course, it would be a good time to keep me away. Very inhumane, but you know, these people are inhuman, so I accept this now. I don't suffer the indecision of knowing what a spiritually possessed person can do. Yes, so it's a very tricky game, working with one's own psychology and working with other people who have been subsumed in the amnesia. It's a very fine line between feeding a little and shutting them down. And little is all they've lived off, so full attention can be quite exposing and quite shocking because it's rare. I've found also in this situation that high IQ and intellect are probably of greater detriment in these type of, I won't even call them illnesses, because they've been enacted. Procedures is probably more accurate, because there's a design and there's a result. So here's the result. That was the design. People will protect their own cage for fear of the cage crushing them, but they don't know that. So they stay close to the perpetrator. Protect the perpetrator because any infringement on the perpetrator is essentially subliminally an infringement on them. So they become essentially a familiar militia for the tyrant, unknowingly. And it's only after the subsequent abuse and years of suppression finally break through, or the person breaks down, that they will have a chance to see these things again and understand that they had been programmed into exactly this experience, and to deleting anything that would instigate any question about anything other than what they've been told. So it's not really much different to Nazi Germany or you know. Maybe what we're starting to see in the US now, this virtual insanity of this is the way it is, and this is what you're going to put up with, and we're going to have people that will assist us in doing this stuff, and because we're the authorities, then must be the right thing to do. Well, I was born in a place of authority. I was born in a place where laws were made, and people were vindicated or convicted. And I lived within that conviction, having been convicted of existing in that place. And now I see what I've experienced all the way through society. All the way through. All of it. Gender confusion. Violence. Psychological problems. Physical problems. Welfare problems. We seem to be having issues with agreeing on what laws are correct. Laws are being passed in countries around children which are just sacrosanct. This all seems to be a great ruse for what's been happening, and I can speak as one who has been the target of what has happened, watching what is happening happen again in my personal environment and in the greater environment as a whole. The dark mirror, you know, we carry all the weight of the decisions, but we don't get any say in the decisions. It's the same thing. It really is micro and a macro. Same dog, different smell. And the byproduct of this, as I said at the end of it all, is the loss of love for self and other. And at the end of the day, all we're actually here for is love. That's what sustains us. You know, people love making food and growing food, and people love loving each other. And I'm not seeing a lot of this now. I'm probably biased, and I own that. But from a perspective of one who has been without, I see a lot of fake love. I see a lot of programming, and I suppose in a way I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to look so deeply on one level, because I have to be discerning about love now. It's not a convenience, it's an action. And it was an action I wasn't taught, and it's an experience that I'm having to work on to understand at 54 years old, as my body never familiarised to the epigenetic value while I've understood it logically, and this is where I'll end. When we're pushed out of our bodies and we go into logic, we've lost the foundation of existence. Because once again we're thinking the feelings, and the feelings are independent of thinking, and they always were, and we've been taught to think them away because they're inconvenient, but they're the things that will save our lives. They've been put here to show us what's right and what's wrong, not to be stuffed down and especially not for the benefit of other people and their comfort. A few years ago, during this big sit with myself, I had this don't know what you call it, but anyway, it was a message from Spirit just basically saying, be prepared to be hated. And I thought to myself, well, I don't think I've ever really been prepared to be hated, but I haven't been prepared to be loved either, so maybe that's right. Maybe I have to learn to be hated first, fully, because doing different things is always going to bring controversy, and I did different things since I was a little boy, and that was the only thing that was going to liberate me. And now I'm in this situation again where I see a lot of people who believe there's one way to be, and if I be different, then I'm to be judged and or ostracised, and if that's the case, then cool, that's fine, because I don't want to be in that space. And if I do want to be in that space, it's for me training my nervous system to understand that this is the way it's always been. And I haven't really accepted it because it's been really unwholesome in my feeling reality, understanding that the crab in the bucket thing it's a thing. And it's important to shine anyway, because those people who want to pull you down, often it's only because they just wanted to be you. And if they can't be you, the next best thing they can do is destroy you. And it's a really sad state of affairs, and it's really something that should be checked about now in humanity, or what's left of humanity. As we all voyeur our way through this insanity that we're facing now on every level. Geological, political, environmental, bloody societal, religious, spiritual. We've got it all going to keep us in the head, when had we been brought onto this earth in a healthy state, we'd all already know ease and flow. And we're all now paying money to professionals to understand ease and flow, which to me sounds like insanity's already left the building or joined the building. You know, being told to breathe, being told to relax. And most people don't even understand what relaxation is. Me, especially. Even in my sedentary ways of the last number of years, I understand how still unrelaxed I am through what I've experienced and what that does to the body, and how that stress in the body keeps those activations in the mind. It's not the other way around. Because we were feelers before we were thinkers. And then we used thinking to stem feeling, which is, it's like turning the machine backwards. So yeah, narcissism is no reflection. And a codependent is overly reflective, and there's wounds through narcissism that have created it. Codependents don't come from nowhere, and we're all codependent to some degree, and we're meant to be because we're village people. So this codependent narcissist thing is a little extreme as well. We are interdependent with a need to be codependent. A narcissist is codependent. They're not interdependent. They only need one at a time. It could be 7 in a day, but it's one at a time, or maybe 2, depending on the situation. But it's they're taking their value from one situation at a time. Yeah, and it's not really a reciprocal situation. Apart from the reciprocality of the codependence dissonance, want to get back what this thing stole from them. That's what it is. It's the child trying to retrieve its pride, its healthy pride and its courage from the energetic thief, from the perpetrator. And every time that's attempted, in the pleading, in the fawning, that's another feed, and it's another breakdown for the empath slash codependent, because they're pleading for their lives to someone who doesn't give a fuck. They don't care. And what's more, they love you pleading. They love it, because then they can turn up the heat, make you plead some more. It's a terrible way to end, but I think it's a good point to end. Be well, people. Good to speak to you. I hope you're all well. Big love.